An unjust viewpoint means that you're exacerbating the systemic inequalities of the United States. Very much in favor of banning gender transition for kids. I think that it's frankly evil.
In recent years, the rise of woke culture has permeated various aspects of society, particularly in the realms of entertainment, media, and politics. One of the most vocal critics of this cultural shift is Ben Shapiro, a conservative commentator and co-founder of The Daily Wire. Shapiro has built a substantial following by addressing what he sees as the excesses of progressive ideology, often focusing his critique on Hollywood, which he believes has become a stronghold of leftist thought and identity politics. This video delves into Shapiro's arguments against woke culture in Hollywood, examining the nuances of his critique, and exploring the broader implications of his perspective on American culture. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. Woke culture is a term that has come to define a set of progressive values that emphasize social justice, identity politics, and the recognition of systemic inequalities related to race, gender, and sexuality. The term woke itself originated within the African American community, initially referring to an awareness of racial injustice and inequality. However, in recent years, it has been co-opted into the mainstream, often used pejoratively by critics to describe what they see as an overzealous and dogmatic approach to social issues. Ben Shapiro has been one of the most prominent voices in pushing back against woke culture, arguing that it has led to a form of cultural authoritarianism where dissenting voices are silenced or marginalized. According to Shapiro, the woke movement, while originally well-intentioned, has evolved into a form of ideological purity that demands conformity to a specific set of beliefs. Those who fail to adhere to these beliefs, whether in Hollywood or in everyday life, risk being canceled, a phenomenon where individuals or entities are ostracized, boycotted, or deplatformed for perceived transgressions against progressive orthodoxy. Hollywood, as the epicenter of American entertainment, has long been a battleground for cultural and ideological conflicts. In recent years, the industry has seen a significant shift toward promoting diversity, inclusion, and social justice in its content. While many view this as a positive development, Shapiro argues that Hollywood has become overly fixated on these issues, often at the expense of storytelling, artistic merit, and audience engagement. Shapiro contends that Hollywood's embrace of woke culture has led to a homogenization of content, where movies and television shows are increasingly judged not by their quality or creativity, but by how well they align with progressive values. This, he argues, has resulted in a form of cultural gatekeeping where only certain perspectives are deemed acceptable, while others are dismissed or vilified. Shapiro often points to examples of films and television shows that he believes prioritize social messaging over entertainment, leading to what he terms woke propaganda. One of Shapiro's primary concerns is that Hollywood's focus on identity politics has led to the erosion of universal themes that have traditionally made entertainment accessible to a broad audience. He argues that by prioritizing narratives centered on race, gender, and sexuality, Hollywood risks alienating viewers who do not see their experiences or values reflected in these stories. This, in turn, could lead to a fragmentation of the cultural landscape, where audiences are divided along ideological lines rather than united by shared cultural experiences. A key element of Shapiro's critique is his assertion that much of the content produced by Hollywood today serves as a vehicle for woke propaganda. He argues that many films and television shows are designed not to entertain, but to promote a specific political agenda. According to Shapiro, this often results in stories that feel forced or preachy, with characters and plots that are subservient to the underlying message rather than organic or relatable. Shapiro has frequently cited specific examples of what he considers woke propaganda in Hollywood. For instance, he has criticized the reboot of the Ghostbusters franchise, which featured an all-female cast, as an example of Hollywood's obsession with gender politics. Shapiro argued that the film's primary goal was not to entertain, but to make a political statement about female empowerment, which he believes detracted from the quality of the movie itself. Similarly, he has criticized films like Captain Marvel and The Last Jedi for what he sees as their heavy-handed social messaging, which he argues comes at the expense of character development and narrative coherence. In Shapiro's view, the prevalence of woke propaganda in Hollywood is indicative of a broader trend in the entertainment industry, where creators are increasingly pressured to conform to progressive norms. He argues that this pressure stifles creativity and leads to a lack of diversity in storytelling, as filmmakers and writers are discouraged from exploring themes or perspectives that deviate from the dominant ideology. This, Shapiro warns, could have a chilling effect on artistic expression and lead to a cultural environment where only certain voices are allowed to be heard. Beyond the ideological concerns, Shapiro also addresses the economic implications of Hollywood's embrace of woke culture. He argues that the industry's focus on social justice issues and identity politics is not only alienating audiences, but also harming its bottom line. Shapiro points to the declining box office returns of films that are perceived as overly political or preachy, suggesting that many viewers are turned off by what they see as Hollywood's attempts to lecture them. Shapiro often contrasts the box office performance of so-called woke films with that of more traditional blockbusters that prioritize entertainment over social messaging. He argues that the success of films like Avengers Endgame and Joker demonstrates that audiences still crave stories that are engaging and entertaining, rather than those that seek to advance a political agenda. Shapiro suggests that Hollywood would be better served by focusing on creating content that appeals to a broad audience rather than trying to cater to the tastes of a vocal minority. Moreover, Shapiro argues that Hollywood's emphasis on diversity and representation is often driven more by fear of backlash than by genuine commitment to these values. He points to instances where studios have made last-minute changes to films in response to social media outrage or criticism from progressive activists, suggesting that these decisions are motivated by a desire to avoid controversy rather than a true belief in the importance of diversity. Shapiro contends that this reactive approach not only undermines the artistic integrity of the work but also erodes trust between creators and their audiences. Central to Shapiro's critique of woke culture is his condemnation of cancel culture, which he views as a particularly insidious manifestation of the woke movement. Cancel culture refers to the practice of publicly shaming, ostracizing, or boycotting individuals or entities for behavior or statements that are deemed offensive or politically incorrect. In Shapiro's view, cancel culture is a form of social coercion that stifles free speech and discourages open debate. Shapiro argues that cancel culture has had a particularly corrosive effect on Hollywood, where individuals and companies are increasingly afraid to express dissenting views for fear of being canceled. He points to instances where actors, directors, or other industry professionals have faced backlash or been blacklisted for expressing opinions that are out of step with the dominant progressive narrative. Shapiro contends that this climate of fear stifles creativity and leads to a culture of self-censorship, where only certain perspectives are deemed acceptable. Shapiro also argues that cancel culture is fundamentally undemocratic, as it allows a small but vocal minority to dictate what is and is not acceptable in public discourse. He suggests that this dynamic is particularly dangerous in the context of Hollywood, where the power to shape cultural narratives is concentrated in the hands of a few influential individuals and companies. Shapiro warns that if left unchecked, cancel culture could lead to a cultural landscape where dissenting voices are systematically silenced and where only a narrow range of perspectives are allowed to be represented. While Shapiro is deeply critical of Hollywood's embrace of woke culture, he is also optimistic about the potential for new media platforms to challenge the dominance of the traditional entertainment industry. Shapiro himself is a pioneer in this space, having co-founded The Daily Wire, a conservative media company that produces news, commentary, and entertainment content. The Daily Wire has been successful in creating an alternative to mainstream media and Hollywood, attracting a large and loyal audience that is dissatisfied with the progressive bias they perceive in traditional outlets. Shapiro argues that the rise of new media platforms like The Daily Wire represents a significant shift in the cultural landscape, as it allows for the proliferation of diverse voices and perspectives that might otherwise be marginalized or silenced. He suggests that the success of these platforms is a testament to the growing demand for content that is not constrained by the ideological boundaries of woke culture. Shapiro is particularly bullish on the potential for new media to disrupt Hollywood, as he believes that audiences are increasingly turning to these platforms for content that aligns with their values and interests. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what did you think of Ben Shapiro's take on woke culture? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.